Good afternoon and welcome to another Unreal 4 shoot 'em up tutorial. So in this video we're just going to really quickly go over the concepts of creating a new material and then creating some material instances of that so we can get our dynamic parameters set up. So quite simply we're going to go to the assets folder, go to the materials folder, and we can actually get rid of most of these. In fact, if you wanted to tidy things up and remove the things you don't need, anything essentially which we haven't already created, which is our flat materials, we can just delete these, apart from the radial gradient and the flare and the pixel cube, because we'll need those for the particles and they're working perfectly fine. But we can just force delete everything else, and we'll be replacing these references to those as we go through anyway. Now the other thing I'm going to do is right click and create a new folder, and I'll call this glow, because we'll be creating quite a lot of different glowing materials. And we'll be doing the same for the flat materials that we have. So if we create a second folder and call this flat, and we can just start tidying things up a bit. So we'll select everything with the word flat in it, and we'll put that into the flat folder, move that here. And then if we go into the glow folder, right click again and create material, and just call this m_glow. So this is going to be our parent material. So if we go in here, first of all, set this up as we need it. So the first thing we want is the color of the material. So if we hit the number 3 and click, we'll get a vector 3, and we can put that into the base color. Next thing we want to do is right click on this and convert this to a parameter. So that's going to be our variable that will be changing dynamically. And remember, in the blueprints, we've referenced this by the word color. So this is exactly the way that I've been spelling it inside of my blueprint. So make sure that you spell yours the same way here as well to the blueprint we have. One thing that we don't need on a glowing material is any metallic, specular or roughness values. So we can just come in here. What I've done there is hit the number 1 to create this single parameter value, and then left clicked, and then we can just plug those up to the metallic, specular and roughness. And then finally, we're going to drag off down here, and we're going to just find the multiply sign, and we'll multiply the color by something else and pass that into the emissive color. So what this will be doing is we'll be getting the color of this, timesing that by a brightness. So we'll press 1 again, left click to get a value, right click on this to make it a scalar parameter. Another way to do that is also just hold S and click, but I've just got used to doing it the other way. And we'll just give this a name of brightness. And I don't like leaving my materials completely black normally. The white just makes it a little bit easier to see what's happening over here. So at the moment we're not getting any brightness at all. If we move this up to a default value of something like 3, then it's going to be able to use that white color, and we'll see that it's starting to emit some sort of color. So I'll leave that as 1 just for now. If we hit apply, and then we can go back over and create our material instance. So back in the browser, what we want to do is right click on the m_glow and create material instance, and we'll just call this m_glow, and we'll call this projectile. So what we can do now is we don't actually need to change anything here, but we can see that with the material instances, the parameter exposed, we can come in and change this to be whatever color we want with any amount of glow that we want. So, or the brightness. So for the brightness, I'm actually going to try something quite high, give this a value of 10. So we can really see that is going to stick out quite nicely against the background. So if we save that instance, and what we need to do is find our mesh, find the SM pixel cube, and just make this default to have our glow projectile. And there we can see that's now taken on the properties that we want it to have. And because we've done that now, when we select the projectile, when we fire the projectile, we can see that color value that we've been setting up in the blueprints is now actually being overridden with the colors that we're passing in there. So although that I've given this a red color in the instance, it's actually picking up its color based on what we've given it in the blueprint in the player blueprint. So you can now start going back and finding the player. And if you wanted this to be different, we can change this to be a slightly more red color for the secondary projectiles. If we go to the primary file, we can make this to be a slightly darker blue or something, and then if we hit play we can quickly prototype and test to see what this looks like. So that's now looking a lot better. And whilst we're doing this, we may as well create some of the colors for the player. So if we go back in to the materials, go to the glow folder, and I'm going to right click and create another material instance, and we'll call this glow, and the first one we'll call player body. And if we just Control W this and call this one player armor. So I think the armor, I've been playing around with a kind of bluish color to match the projectiles that we're firing, and give this a brightness again of about 10, and we can play about with this to be whatever we want quite quickly. And for the body, In the demonstration video that I gave at the beginning of this playlist, I actually made it a kind of a greyish colour, a really dark grey, again not quite black, kind of off black, and then gave this a brightness of 1. So it does have a really faint glow, but because it's kind of washed of colour, it doesn't show very much. And then the other thing that we need to do is actually go in and apply these. So if we find our slot 1 from the material slot 1, we can find our glow for the body. And I've done that the wrong way around, so that's the armor. That's what I'm classing as armor, I think, maybe. And we'll give that the armor, there we go, so we have some glow, and then the body will add there. So if we save that, hit play, we now have our first material setup, and we can see that there's some problems clashing with the background and the player. So again, that's really simple to fix. We just come back in, find our player body. I think that just needs to be a little bit darker. And then if we save that and give that another play, there we go, we can see that stands out quite nicely. The projectiles look as though they match with the armor color of the player, so we can start seeing where the projectiles are coming from. And when we start color coding things between the players and the enemies and things, it's going to make a lot more sense and just be a lot more visually pleasing. So this is going to be the start of the material setup, and this will help us as we go through for the rest of the playlist and create the other blueprints that we'll be interacting with. So that's everything we needed to do for now for the materials, so I'll leave that here again for today. As I mentioned before, trying to reach and help as many people as possible with these series, so one of the only ways that I can do this is with your help. So if you do enjoy this, then please do leave a like and share the video. Really great help, and one of the only ways to really get YouTube to notice the videos. As always, just want to say a big thanks to the current patrons of the channel, and if you'd consider showing your support to the channel, then do go over to the Patreon page, have a look on there, and I've given some really interesting and hopefully useful rewards for different levels of pledging, including access to some of my Udemy courses as well, or my current Udemy course and the Udemy course I have planned in the future at least. So if that's something that interests you, then do check that page out. As ever though, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.